Keep up with the night owls making our city buzz from sunset to sunrise grâce à ce podcast officiel de la ville d'Ottawa, présenté par le Bureau de la vie nocturne. Three night owls under some very bright lights. Welcome et bienvenue to Ottawa at Night. Trevor Walker, a living legend on the dance floor in more ways than one. Ensuite, Princia Cirondeye, aussi connue comme DJ PC. And last but not least, co-director and programmer of the Asinabka Film Festival. It's Chris Wong. I'm Zoe Argyropoulos-Hunter, and this is Ottawa at Night. Let's get into it. Chris, how are things shaping up for the 2026 edition of the Asinabka Film Festival?
Things are looking good, Zoe. We have over 100 submissions to Asinabka this year. We're looking at different genres of Indigenous music to program, including possibly punk music, as well as some new electronic Indigenous musicians that are coming up. And in terms of our art show, we're doing a still call to submissions with our partner Gallery 101. But we are looking at a partnership with the National Gallery for their new international Inuit exposition that's opening up sometime this spring. So we'll be programming a film series for that. So looking forward to checking that out and promoting it through the festival. And also on the DJ side, I program bi-monthly party, Neon Wigwam, which is an all-vinyl party. And we're looking to do something either next month or early June.
Hey,
so
great.
It's going to be fun. Come check it out.
And Trevor, how about you? Any upcoming gigs on the horizon?
It's a couple of things happening with Time Code. There's a few in the coming months. Big gigs. Just my weekly residency I do as well at 27 Club, radio show every second week, CKCU 93.1 on Fridays, 5 till 7. And also a monthly that I'm doing at Cassette.
Okay, great.
And hopefully monthly here at FONO too. Did my first FONO just this past Friday, actually when this is being filmed, but hopefully it'll be happening on a monthly basis, and it was a lot of fun.
Okay, excellent. We'll have to catch you around town.
For sure.
Et Princia, en tant que productrice, est-ce qu'il y a les artistes locaux qui attirent votre attention à ce moment?
Je dirais, pour le moment, des gens qui sont sur mon radar seraient Nikki Ghost, Trills, d'autres DJ comme DJ K, DJ Maz, tous les DJ qui ont joué pour mon événement Platains Caviar. Je pense à eux.
Okay, super. So thank you so much, you three, for being here. I'd like to warm up the mics tonight with a little bit of healthy competition. So I hope you've brought your trivia skills to the show. Are you ready for the night quiz? Question number 1. The first edition of the Hallucinations Electric Powwow, a now iconic event that celebrates the intersection of Indigenous and club culture, was held at which former Ottawa venue? Was it A, Babylon, B, Zaphod's, or C, the Mercury Lounge?
I'd like to say Babylon.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm really impressed and proud of Hallucination and formerly A Tribe Called Red and how far they've taken their music around the world and the influence it's had on not only Indigenous music, but cinema and popular culture and the way contemporary Indigenous people are seen in the media and in pop culture. So kudos to them for putting that out there. But I also think that we need more of that here in the city, more electric powwows and more nightlife events geared to Indigenous people and people of color, more of that underground contemporary sound.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get into that a little bit later on, the importance of building community through nightlife. Question number 2. This one is also probably familiar to some of the heads in the room. So, quel festival fondé en 1975 est considéré comme le plus ancien et le plus important de son genre en Amérique du Nord, attirant plus que 25 000 personnes à chaque année? Est-ce que c'est A, Ottawa Blues Fest, B, the Ottawa International Film Festival, or C, City Folk?
I would say City Folk. Je pense que c'est City Folk.
Non, c'est pas City Folk.
Oh.
Peut-être Ottawa Blues Fest?
Non, pas encore.
Film Fest.
It's the Ottawa International Film Festival. Yeah, 25,000 people come out for it year after year, which is pretty amazing. That's a statistic I didn't know. All right, moving on to question number 3. Which Ottawa bookstore previously hosted DIY punk shows and dance parties in between its shelves? Was it A, Book Bazaar, B, All Books, or C, Black Squirrel Books?
Say Black Squirrel Books.
Yeah, that's right. I know that you and I probably crossed paths at some of those dance parties at that bookstore. And a fun fact, the previous booker of Black Squirrel Books is now the owner of FONO, where we are today. Question number 4. Quel établissement de la vie nocturne avec une thématique d'animaux n'est pas situé à Ottawa? Est-ce que c'est A, Rabbit Hole, B, The Black Dog Pub, ou C, The Black Sheep Inn?
Black Sheep Inn? No? Okay.
Yep, that's right. It's the Black Sheep Inn. Have you ever been before?
I have. Yeah. I actually DJ'd there once as well. Yeah. And I know the previous owner used to bartend at my first DJ gig at Club Zinc back in the 80s and early 90s.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Club Zinc. Very cool. You probably hung out with my mom back in the day then. Going now to question number 5. Which Ottawa drag queen won season 2 of Canada's Drag Race? Was it A, Kiki Ko, B, Isis Couture, or C?
It was Isis Couture.
Yeah, that's right. Are you a fan?
I am. Yeah, I remember Isis before they were a drag queen.
Okay, well, thank you 3 for entertaining the night quiz. In preparation for today's show, I asked some of our guests to embark on a little bit of a challenge and get outside of their nightlife comfort zone. So, Princia, vous avez apporté Trevor à votre série Platains et Caviar hier soir à City at Night. Parlez-nous de votre expérience.
C'est de la nouvelle musique que je ne connaissais pas. Mm-hmm. It was refreshing, like fresh sound, seeing what the youth are into. Like it's like people my kids' age basically was the crowd. So it was cool. It was banging, bumping, and then got into some R&B and stuff as well. It was like a fresh scene, and it took me out of Ottawa. Actually, I was like, oh, where is this? Where am I right now?
That's very high praise. Yeah. Princia, peux-tu parler encore plus de la façon que tu produises cet événement? Comment est-ce que tu choisis les DJ? C'est quoi le focus musical en fait?
Oui, donc c'est une résidence qui a commencé en septembre. Normalement, je joue en premier. Je joue de 10h à 11h et je laisse le reste de la soirée au DJ que j'ai appelé cette journée-là. La musique est vraiment centrée sur le futur de la diaspora africaine. Chaque week-end a un son différent, mais ce week-end-là, par exemple, on a joué beaucoup de dancehall, beaucoup de batida, beaucoup de R&B, mais en général, notre soirée est vraiment focus sur le futur de la diaspora africaine.
Okay. Et est-ce que c'est toujours les jeunes DJ qui viennent d'Ottawa ou est-ce qu'ils sont de l'autre part?
Donc, ça dépend. Ce week-end-là, on avait 2 DJ qui viennent de Montréal et un autre DJ qui vient de New York. Donc, je dirais que maintenant et surtout durant l'été, on va essayer d'inviter plus de personnes qui viennent d'autre part. Mais depuis septembre, ça a toujours été des DJ qui viennent d'Ottawa.
Comment est-ce que le public a réagi à voir quelqu'un à l'âge de nos parents à Platains et Caviar?
Oui, je pense que personne n'était choqué. Je pense qu'on a tellement un bon mélange de gens qui viennent chaque dimanche. Donc, je pense pas que les gens étaient choqués. Ils ont peut-être pensé que c'était...
I mean, I shaved, so I look a lot younger than I normally do. But I didn't feel like I stood out particularly. I mean, there was another gentleman there who was probably my age, maybe a bit older even. So I wasn't the only geriatric, so to speak.
And at the same time, though, what can you say about how people closer to age to Princia and I hit the dance floor? Comparable to your heyday?
Yeah.
Better, worse?
No, people had moves, I felt like I was taken back to when I was a kid, going out to the clubs and stuff. I didn't really feel out of place, and I felt like people were, they were vibing. Like it was a nice vibe. It was a great party.
And speaking of when you were a kid, Trevor, I've found this photo of you from the archives that's around from the time when you would have gotten your start, which I think is when you were close to Princia's age. So Can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, what's going on in this picture here, and also what nightlife in Ottawa was like when you were our age?
So I was actually a teenager. I was too young to be going out at that point, but we did go, and we started going to Zinc back in those days. So I think I was 18 or 17 even, maybe, in that picture. The nightlife scene was school dances. At one point, there was really nothing for youth, I would say. Not really a nightlife scene. Like it was, there was, these party Arnie dances that would happen. There was another spot called Astrolight, which is like kind of an after hours, but it wasn't an after hours in what we think of after hours now. It's like you stayed out late and you had to wait for the buses to start in the morning again. So they just kept it open for all the kids. So, everyone's just sitting around.
And what did trading places tell you about Ottawa's nightlife? Par exemple, Princia, est-ce que tu as envie de peut-être assister à un performance de Trevor et apprendre à jouer des vinyles? Ou Trevor, do you want to hang out with more Gen Z DJs?
I mean, I think it would be a riot to play that night. I mean, I might have something to offer. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm pretty hip sometimes. But the Afrofuturism for sure is something that I've always kind of pushed. So it was cool to see it at another level and not from my perspective. So it's very cool.
Ouais.
Yeah, very cool night.
Je dirais la même chose. Je pense que l'art de jouer sur en vinyl, c'est quelque chose qui doit rester en vie. Surtout parce que même le genre de musique que tu peux jouer est un peu plus limité, mais c'est tellement... c'est un art qui demande beaucoup de patience, beaucoup de recherche. Et je pense que tous les nouveaux DJ pourraient gagner de cette expérience.
Oui, c'est vrai.
Doing Afrofuturism right now with modern music is that vinyl is just so damn expensive that it's restrictive for new DJs. And so you understand why they would do a, so I mean, that's why you get so many throwbacks I find in the culture right now is because kids are going out, I mean, young vinyl DJs are going out and they're buying used records generally, and they're a lot cheaper. So it's all the revival of disco and the classic house now, or whatever it is, techno or drum and bass even now. I mean, music that's 20 years old, and there was tons of those records. So now the new DJs, sure, they're buying new records, but new records are ridiculously expensive. Like it's prohibitive. So they're buying used records, and the used records are, the old records that the old DJs have gotten rid of. And they're out there and they're cheaper than the new records. So
both of you DJ vinyl, so I'm curious to ask, where do you find good records in Ottawa?
I like to go to the Record Center on Wellington Street.
Yeah, same.
I go to Compact, Baked Goods. Actually, I think I've hit most of the record stores in the city at this point.
Yeah. But yeah, Record Center, Vertigo, Baked Goods as well. And this, wherever I can find, there's a place called the Groove Bunker. A friend of mine, he has a shipping container out in the country. It's by appointment only, but he has the best prices and probably the best dance music around as well.
Okay.
His specialty is old classic house, drum and bass, electronic music. So yeah, if you're looking for records, but it's by appointment only, so it's got a little bit exclusive.
Okay.
Sometimes you find some treasures at Value Village.
Oh yeah, that's the other. Yeah,
Sally Ann.
Yeah.
And there's a flea market at Lansdowne.
Yes.
That they do every once in a while called the 613 flea market, I think. And eventually, sometimes people come out and they have like crates of vinyls, and you can find some really good ones for fairly cheap there, or you can make a deal. You can haggle.
Yeah, you can haggle. It's true.
Et Princia, comme un DJ qui joue exclusivement la musique électronique, comment est-ce que tu découvres la musique, enfin, qui a l'accès infini sur l'Internet?
Oui, je pense que ça peut nous rendre nerveux en tant que DJ d'avoir tellement d'options. On peut avoir accès à toute la musique qui a existé, presque toute la musique qui a existé dans notre temps. Donc, moi, je dirais que ma première source, c'est toujours SoundCloud. Je fais beaucoup de recherches. Je suis les artistes que j'aime beaucoup. Et j'écoute d'autres DJ. Je pense que ici à Ottawa, on est vraiment chanceux. Et il y a beaucoup d'espaces qui font en sorte que les gens doivent pas écouter la même musique. Et si je me retrouve à un événement où je partage pas nécessairement le même goût en termes de musique, souvent j'essaie de voler un peu et de voir comment je peux adapter ça à mon style, il y a toujours quelque chose de nouveau à trouver. Ouais.
Je pense que tous les DJ sont habitués à voler les chansons des autres DJ. It sounds like you three have a lot to say about Ottawa's nightlife, so I'm wanting to dig a little bit deeper with a friendly night chat. So to start, I know that you've all spoken to this a little bit, but I want to know more about what your start in Ottawa's nightlife was like, whether it was, you know, maybe going to school dances in your case. What about you, Chris? How did you get the idea to start a film festival?
It came actually from, I was taking Indigenous language class, Anishinaabe class at Carleton University that was open to the public, and members of the community could come in for free and take this class. And it was aimed for the Indigenous people of Ottawa to reconnect with their language because of the history of like language suppression in Canada and the Indian Act. There's a generation of people who don't know their language in residential schools. So this was a way of like giving back as part of the Truth and Reconciliation movement to encourage more people to learn the language. It was only for like a summer. And after the summer was over, I wanted to keep that class going. So I went down to a special place in the city called Victoria Island. And I would go and have a fire out there in this sort of Indigenous ceremonial space. And I started like texting and inviting my friends to come out and hang out. We just like would teach ourselves through the books and bring a lunch. And I bring my family and we just talk. And we would talk in the language. And from there, one of my friends, Howard Adler, who's a filmmaker, we started chatting about films because we were both filmmakers. And next thing you knew, we were like going to an Indian Bollywood film festival that was happening because we got caught in a rainstorm on the way back. And we're like, well, there's no native film festivals in Ottawa, so why don't we just start one? And at the time, I was working at the Ottawa Writers Festival, and they gave a lot of encouragement to the idea. They taught us how to like get the grants and organize events, and that was like close to 20 years ago.
But what do you think has been one of the most impactful experiences since, you know, following the dream of starting your own festival?
The relationships that I've made along the way, some of the great art we've got to present in bringing artists from like around the world, from Maori, from Aotearoa, New Zealand, people from Sami, from like the Nordic countries have come, and also to travel too, and to present Indigenous films and art in different places. Like I've been to New Zealand a few times. I went to different First Nations, presented films there, England, Rome. So it's been an honor. I don't make a lot of money doing it, so please give us money. But it's been an honor to like travel and make relationships and have these great experiences. Yeah.
Et Princia, peux-tu peut-être élaborer sur cette branche dont Chris a touché un peu le focus de construire une communauté autour de la vie nocturne?
Je pense que la vie nocturne est beaucoup plus que ce qu'on voit. Oui, il y a l'aspect de voir et de danser et tout, mais quand tu te retrouves dans un espace souvent et avec les mêmes personnes, c'est comme si tu n'as presque pas le choix de te familiariser avec non seulement comment ils sont en soirée, mais leur personne. Et je pense qu'avec Platains Caviar, par exemple, ça a pu créer un espace pour des gens qui ont un peu plus d'ouverture d'esprit quand qu'on parle de musique africaine. La musique africaine peut commencer avec quelque chose comme du Afrobeats, mais de la musique comme de l'amapiano ou du batida, c'est quelque chose qu'on entend un peu moins, mais qui vient toujours de nos racines. Donc, je pense que pour Platains Caviar, on a pu essentiellement rassembler tous les gens qui avaient une ouverture d'esprit, de découvrir ce que la diaspora africaine peut faire, surtout quand on parle de musique électronique.
I really like seeing what Princia is doing because it's the continuation of kind of what I've been up to. You know, it's a tough slog doing kind of what I'm doing just because my whole thing is I'm kind of anti-pop. I don't really like pop music as a genre as a whole, generally. I like it before it was pop. So it's always hard to sell. I guess one of the changes and one of the beautiful things about the scene now is since the whole evolution of technology and, you know, apps and social media and stuff like that. People don't need to go out for cruising. It used to be you go out to cruise and party, but now people don't need to do that anymore. It's not. So people I think, are more inclined to go out to actually enjoy the music. It's not a meeting kind of whatever place. So at least for underground music, for sure, more than it used to be. So that evolution is a beautiful thing to see, because that's always what you're trying to aspire for. Like, really, I want people to come out and be there for the music, you know. You hear the whole movement of no cell phones on the dance floor, all this kind of, and yeah, that would be the ideal if you can get there, you know?
On that note of going against the grain, and also with technology becoming more accessible, whether you're a DJ or a filmmaker, what are all of your thoughts on just the accessibility of being able to create now being such a possibility, opening doors for so many people, especially in Ottawa, that's not known to be an industry city? I feel like we're all champions of DIY. So curious to hear your thoughts on that.
I've been hanging out with this DJ, Sizey, and super gifted DJ. And I watched them take a sampler, one of those Roland, is it a 404?
Yeah.
And they plug in their turntable into it. They take a 10-second loop of a record, then another record in different sounds, and then they're playing like a musical instrument. And when they can do it live, like, and it's kind of a throwback to like how the original like house music and kind of hip hop music was made. And that do it yourself is still around if you just take the time and power through all the distractions that are out there to focus. And, you know, you can still make this music anywhere. So I feel like the potential and the possibility is still there, and it's cool to see these bright lights still, you know, pushing the music forward.
Yeah, everyone's a musician at heart. Anyone can make music. Whether it's good is another thing, but you have the gems that come out of all of that, like the saturation. But I mean, it's always kind of been like that, but now it's on another level. Like, you go to SoundCloud and it's a black hole of endless music. If you really dig for it, there's going to be all kinds of stuff that's mediocre, of course, but then there's going to be the gems that are going to come out. And, you know, people who are talented, have an ear, or who've listened to a lot of music, know what's up, as well as gifted musicians who are adopting or using the technology. It can be a beautiful thing.
I think kind of like Trevor said, there's a lot of noise, especially on apps like SoundCloud. And when I think of a genre, for example, like Amapiano, it's a genre that's evolved so much since it's come out, and it's so easy for music to become popular and then, you know, kind of lose its roots. But places like SoundCloud is where you can find like older DJs from South Africa who were making music in their basement, and sometimes that's the best kind of music. So part of the DIY aspect too is also just doing your research as a DJ and like finding what you love, but also just honing in on your craft and learning how to play it.
Yeah, say more about that, because I feel like you're really a success story in terms of a younger DJ that, you know, is really gifted. You went through the Pass the Vibes program, and now you've gone on to teach that program. Tell us more about that experience.
Yeah, for sure. Pass the Vibes, I was able to go to their open decks for a while. And slowly but surely, I was also building my own event series called Amashi, which then turned into Platains Caviar. I think that from starting as a mentee to then becoming a mentor has taught me so much, and has also exposed me to so much more music, so many more people in the city that are doing what we all love. And yeah, I think it was very beneficial for me, not only to create my community of people who are coming to my events, but to ever evolving.
Yeah, it's really a full circle moment. Well, thank you three for speaking from the heart on this segment. It's always great to learn about how you've come full circle and are still growing in your different nightlife capacities. To end off the show today, I want to turn things up a bit and now get some hot takes out of you. This next segment to close things off is called This or That. Which party technique from ancient history would you rather resurrect from the dead? Would it be dial for a party location or dial for a track ID?
What you're saying about dial for the party, it takes me back to the rave days when people would have to call a number and then they would find out to go to a certain location to figure out where the event is happening, just to keep it away from, the law enforcement or whoever the enforcers might be at the time. And that was like a true underground thing. I mean, that was a beautiful thing back in the day. I would, it makes me nostalgic for that whole vibe. It was special.
Chris, did you ever have to dial for a party location?
I did, and they used to have flyers downtown, and oddly enough, it was always the same location. You meet there at 11 o'clock, and then there's a bus that would take you somewhere else. Right.
Would you rather have unlimited guest list or unlimited snacks in the green room?
Ooh, good question. I'd say snacks. I feel like it's nice. It adds a little bit I think even that sense of community can come with food.
Back to the guest list. So my whole philosophy on guest list is from an old Little Louis record, and there is no guest list tonight. Because if you're going to come to the party, you need to support. I don't think there should be guest lists. I mean, that's kind of cold of me. If I go to an event, I expect to pay. And guest list thing is a slight thorn in my side sometimes. As somebody who throws events as well, but of course I want to get people in for free and whatever, but I think also people should support. And especially the underground scene, because it's the hardest to make a living at.
Je dirais presque la même chose. Quand tu payes pour un billet, pour un événement, tu es non seulement en train de supporter la personne qui joue, mais la salle aussi. Et c'est vraiment important parce que si on veut que la vie nocturne continue à rouler comme elle roule, on a besoin de cette circulation de fonds aussi. Sur le côté communauté aussi, des fois, on veut que nos amis soient là et on veut que tout le monde rentre gratuitement parce qu'on veut que les gens qu'on connaît soient à nos événements. Mais l'aspect de supporter les artistes locaux est vraiment important aussi.
Chris, to guest list or not to guest list?
No guest list. I'd rather have the free food in the green room.
It's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
I think that's all that I have for you three tonight. So thank you so much for joining me. And on that note, any parting words for our audience before we say goodnight?
Come on out and enjoy the nightlife.
Yeah, please continue to support. And, we can make this grow together.
I agree. I'd say there's something for everyone in Ottawa. And so don't limit yourself to certain venues or certain spaces. Check things out. And whether that's on social media or in person, talk to people about what's going on.
Thank you. Merci, Princia, Trevor et Chris de asseoir avec moi ce soir sur Ottawa At Night. Keep up with the Ottawa Nightlife office on our website at ottawaatnight.ca and on Instagram at OTTNightMe. Comme vous avez probablement remarqué, nous utilisons le français et l'anglais comme c'est toute la coutume ici à Ottawa. And if you're looking for a completely accessible version of this podcast, you can go to the City of Ottawa's YouTube channel. And to learn more about accessibility, visit ottawaatnight.ca/podcast.